Hi everyone, I hope everyone is doing well. Welcome back. This is our final tutorial, our segment on our production and planning project. On the last tutorial, we had moved to the final stage and we were calculating financial results by product. And we had finished off by calculating our planned sales, total materials and labor costs, and finally our expected or planned contribution margin for widget A, product A. So in this tutorial, we're going to finish off by calculating the same thing for our last two products and then just making sure everything ties together and balances correctly. So let's just jump right in and do that. And so we're going to move to project B here. The first thing we want to do is we want to calculate the total planned sales for product B. And of our total mix, product B or widget B is expected to represent 22% of our total sales for that. So we'll take our total sales in February, that can be found in E6, and we will multiply that by our expected percentage of total sales in D21, that's 22%. And you'll notice, again, I made an absolute cell reference to D21 so that when we drag this formula across to fill in from February to July, Excel will stay locked in on that 22%. So we get a proper allocation when we move that across. So let's grab our fill handle and drag it over. Let's just double check cell J22. Yes, we've got J6 times 21. Perfect. Now we're going to take a little bit of a shortcut here, and instead of manually entering the formula again for our direct materials, we're just going to grab this fill handle and we're going to drag it down. We'll have to just make one adjustment. Because column E, we left it as a relative cell reference, when we drag that formula down, the E reference moved from row 6 to row 7, which is just the number of units sold. What we need is to have it reference our direct materials here in row 8. So we'll just go up here and just simply change 7 to an 8 and hit tab. That's all we need to do. Then let's highlight that cell, grab our fill handle, and drag it across. Now, leave everything highlighted. There's another quick little tidbit for you. Because our formula now is on a relative cell row of 8, we've got everything highlighted here now. All we need to do at this point is grab this fill handle and drag it down for our labor. And just like that, we've got our numbers correct because, again, E7 was, E8 was a relative cell. When we dragged the formula down one row, it changed from E8 to E9, and actually row 9 is our direct labor cost, so everything copied down perfectly. Lastly, we will total up our expected total standard cost or cost of goods sold, which is just the total of our materials and labor. So that's going to equals sum of E24, our materials, oops, E23, there you go, plus E24. Okay, so you can see E24 and E23 and 24 are highlighted to pick up our materials and labor for that product. Select tab, then let's click on it again, grab the fill handle and drag it across. And finally, let's calculate our contribution margin or planned contribution margin for this product. Remember, as I mentioned in the last tutorial, be careful doing this. I've seen people do this all the time, even in real world applications. When you're calculating your contribution margin by the product, where you're just taking the sales minus the cost, make sure you're just picking up the expected planned sales of the product and not accidentally use the gross sales of the month. Because we've been referencing E6 so often, it's real easy to forget and use that. If you do that, you're really going to overstate your profitability. So the formula would just be E22, our expected sales for product B, minus its total expected standard cost in E25. There we go. And then we can just drag this across, and then finally move down to our last product, C here. Okay, so our expected sales for widget C will just equal the total February sales, which are in E6. And we'll multiply it by the expected mix for widget C, that is in cell D28. Again, absolute cell reference. tab, we will grab our fill handle, drag it, drag it across. Then we'll click on this cell again in E29. Just drag the formula down for the direct materials. Select the cell, and then just go up here as we did for product B. Change the 7 to an 8 so that we're picking up, you can see right here at the top. Now I'm picking up the direct materials, which is exactly what we want. And then drag this over. There we go. And now with all that row or all those cells highlighted, we can just grab our fill handle here on the right, drag it down one row, and now we've got the correct formula in to calculate our total labor. If you look up here in your formula bar, you'll see E9, which is our direct labor cost, times the expected percentage of sales for that product. And then the total cost, which is our materials in E30, plus the expected labor in E31. Let's highlight that. Drag, get back here, drag it over. And then finally, we'll calculate our expected contribution margin for widget C, which will be just the sales on widget C in E29, 31,454, minus its expected total standard costs, or cost of goods sold, in row 32. Okay, highlight that, grab the fill handle, and and drag it over. And just like that, we have completed it. Now, this section on the bottom, you try to click it. I have locked those cells. I've protected them. And what these actually do here, I put formulas in here so that what it does is it actually calculates, it adds up all the values that you have calculated for your allocation. So, for example, it'll add up all the sales that you've calculated for widget A plus B plus C. And it'll also add up all the direct materials, labor costs, total standard costs, and contribution margin that you've now allocated for each product from February to July. So why do we do this? So if we look at the bottom here, we can use this as a sort of a check and balance to make sure that we've correctly allocated everything. We will compare the total results with what our original plan results were at the top of the sheet. For example, February, we've got our total allocation sales were 95,317 with the contribution margin totaling 79,719. So let's just go back up to the top. Oops, come here, take a look. Here was our plan, February, 95,317 and a margin of 79,719. So that's good. And just as a last check, because we just dragged the formulas across, let's just have a quick look at July. If it's also correct, then anything in between there is also correct. Our total allocated sales totaled 90,765, and our total contribution margin came to 75,913. Let's go up, and sure enough, it balances. So just like that, you have finished. So again, this whole project was just to give you a very high-level view on what's involved in production and planning, right from creating sales forecasts to a rough cut production plan, where you're just you're sort of figuring out what your total production of units are going to be on a monthly basis. We then defined that a little further by developing a master production schedule where we broke everything down on a daily basis. We knew exactly how many units we needed to produce on a monthly basis, as well as how many units of each product that we sell and manufacture that we needed to produce on a daily basis. And then finally, we were able to develop some pro forma financial results or plans or budgets based on that, so that as we move through our months and periods, we can use our plans now as a benchmark to compare our actuals to. So we can see, hey, are we on target? Did we hit our marks, or are we missing somewhere? Now, real life application would get a lot more involved because we would also be looking at the raw materials or the ingredients. So there'd be a lot more data that we would be using. But essentially, this is how it works, on a high-level view, how the planning works, not only between the functional areas within an organization, but also through an ERP system itself. So I hope you found these tutorials helpful. It was a pleasure bringing them to you. And until next time, take care.